Okay, Siba, welcome to what I'm going to call the Hearthstone King of the Hill. The first episode will be based on something you have. I'm gonna say it, and then you're gonna tell me that there's some random ass card that has it. Keywords in Hearthstone. You guys have.
Well, we don't have those.
Okay,
we don't have keywords, so we're already out.
Okay, so your job today. Do you know what a King of the Hill format is for the record? Because I'm going to explain it for people who don't know.
I do not. No.
Okay, so the way King of the Hill works is I'm going to show you a pair of 2 keywords first. You're going to tell me what keyword thing you think is better. And then I'm going to get rid of the other one and bring in a new keyword. And basically, you're going to keep on picking all the way through until we have no keywords left to define what you think is the best keyword in Hearthstone.
Okay, hold on. What are best keyword? What statistical data are we going based off of for best keyword? That sounds very subjective.
Your opinion of what you think about the best keyword in Hearthstone will be. That's
yeah, but what are you measuring that against? Like what? Like what you think is the best? Is it just vibes?
This is like you're gonna pick. Yes, vibes. I mean, for you, yeah, you're gonna see, like, for instance, battlecry versus death rattle. By the way, I should say that I went through and I picked maybe the best card for each keyword. Like, I actually looked through every card to kind of give you the best representation of the keyword itself.
The keyword.
If you have any questions about the keyword or like how well it did in standard, I can let you know. But above all else, it's going to be your opinion on what you think is the best keyword in Hearthstone.
Right. But then how do I like win? Because like, do you have like your best keyword, or is there like a list of like what people think is the best?
You want something to compare again? You know what? I'll make you a deal. I'll pick you. I'll pick a keyword that I think is the best one.
Yeah, I was like wondering like what's the game here? Yeah.
Oh,
okay. All right.
The game is for you to just pick what you think is the best keyword in Hearthstone.
And so people in the comments could fight. Got it. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Right.
I got the vibe.
So like, I get to answer. I think I understand what you're like kind of asking is like, there is technically no objectively best keyword in the game. This isn't like this card's playable or not playable.
This is just what the Yu-Gi-Oh player thinks the best keyword is.
Yes, exactly.
Because I'm just looking to beat CGB. That's all that matters. So that's like that's why I needed to know how to win.
It's funny you bring this up because when I do the video with CGB, I will be doing against him. But we're gonna see how well you do individually.
Okay. All right. I'm in.
So for this one in particular, for Ziliax, you're putting it for magnetic, and I will explain. Do you? First and foremost,
I do not know what magnetic. I know every other keyword except the one you just said.
Interesting. Okay, what's Mana Thirst?
Wait, there's no Mana Thirst.
Go to
I was looking at Ziliax. I wasn't looking at the other card.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Okay. Magnetic is when this card's in your hand, you could drag it to the left of a mech, only a mech, and it will merge into one, meaning that the mech on board will gain all keywords and stats. So in other words,
so the 2 cards like they do a fusion dance, and become one card.
Yes. So let's say you had a 1-mana 1/1 mech. Okay. Ziliax
it just like goes and makes Ziliax a 4/3 with all these keywords.
The mech itself would absorb Ziliax, so it would not be called Ziliax. It would get its magnetic divine shield taunt. Well, it would get divine shield taunt lifesteal, and then its stats on top of the 1/1 it has. So it'd be like a 4/3 with divine shield taunt lifesteal and rush. Mana Thirst is it gets the extra ability when you have 8 mana crystals, not when you have 8 mana crystals.
Okay, so as long as you have the crystals. So like ideally, if this is mage doesn't have ramp as far as I know. So like turn 8, theoretically you get them. So it's kind of like Magic has a mechanic similar to this. It's like threshold. Is that what it is? It's like for the graveyard, but it's this is for mana. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, so this is 2 damage, but then if you have 8 mana crystals, it becomes better. So it's like the longer you hold it, it becomes better potentially. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Okay. All right.
Okay.
For Ziliax,
so I have to pick one of these 2, and then you're gonna throw me another card, and then I have to like keep picking.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw you another keyword to see which keyword you think is the best one here.
Okay.
I will say for the people, I didn't include ones that are like insane packages. So you're not seeing Excavate, you won't see Imbue. You've already seen Imbue, but you're not going to rate it for this because there's too many cards for that.
You assume I remember what that is, but okay.
I'm just gonna that's fair. I mean, it's fair. Just so people
you could have showed it to me like 3 times, and it's like, oh, this is the first time I'm seeing this.
That's fair. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so like Mana Thirst is interesting because it's like it gives like extra flexibility to cards and like potentially like I mean there could be plenty of bad cards with Mana Thirst, but it's like the idea is that it's like you have this like in the early game it's like an okay card, and then the late game it's like a better card if you need to like if you make top deck it late game, or if you just like didn't have to use it, at least it just gets better over time. So that's kind of cool. I like that. The magnetic thing, it's only mechs, right?
Only mechs. Yeah.
the problem is this is limited to like mechs only. So if mechs are bad, then magnetic is bad. But if mechs are insane, then magnetic could probably be like insane as well. It's tough because like Mana Thirst is like always good theoretically, where like magnetic is like if it's mech specific. So I want to say Mana Thirst is better only from the perspective of it's just like always like present, because like there's many instances if your deck plays no mechs, then you're not playing magnetic. I feel like as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, Mana Thirst is just a better ability, because like we look for stuff that's like generically applicable in like as many instances as possible. And it's tough because like Yu-Gi-Oh is very fast, so like you would make the argument that because like we don't have mana, so like I don't know how we'd have to like do mana. We might have to do like threshold, where it's like based off cards in your graveyard or something. In like Yu-Gi-Oh terms, especially if it was like old Yu-Gi-Oh, if there was like a sort of like threshold mechanic, and we've had some of these, like there are some of the best boss monsters in the game. It's like when you have 3 dark monsters in your graveyard, exactly, you get to play this like huge like game warpingly powerful card. And like that's just been like a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh forever, essentially. Okay. And so like having like such a wide like range in terms of like the card being playable, Mana Thirst would be like better for our game, I feel like. Like magnetic is funny because it's like your version of like fusion summoning, or like summoning something from the extra deck, because you're taking 2 guys and making 1. So it's very funny in that regard.
Okay, so you're gonna go with Mana Thirst, which is fine.
I'm gonna go with Mana Thirst. Yeah.
I'm gonna leave Mana Thirst in for you. Okay. Me personally, I'd pick magnetic, just for the record.
Okay, sure.
The reason I'm going to say magnetic is because you can look at magnetic almost like charge by giving them like an immediate buff. Oh,
interesting.
Which is surprisingly very powerful, depending on like obviously the keywords and stuff. But having that initial stats and extra keywords on a minion that can already attack is very, very good.
That's really interesting. It's almost like, did you ever play Duel Masters by chance?
No.
Okay, so Duel Masters, they have these cards called evolutions. So basically, if you have a card of like a certain tribe, you can play this evolution card on top of it. And it's like, it's kind of like magnetizing in a different way. And then it's like, that thing also, I believe, has like, it doesn't have summoning sickness. So it's like very similar in concept, where it's like you get this big burst of stats. It doesn't have summoning sickness. You can like attack immediately. Okay. It's very similar to that. And so like in a game like yours where like combat is like so important for like tempo and stuff, I think that makes sense. I think just like from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, like Mana Thirst is just like way more valuable for us.
All right, here's your next one. So you already know what Mana Thirst is. This is Twin Spell. Twin Spell means when I play this card, Ray of Frost, I get another copy of it in my hand.
Oh, so it's like a
2-for-1,
like
basically.
A fake copy of it, to like a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it like go away at the end of the turn, or just it stays in your hand until you do something with it?
It stays in your hand until you use the second.
Okay. I play Pot of Greed, draw 2. I get an extra Pot of Greed. That seems really good. Do we have a mechanic like this in Yu-Gi-Oh at all? Like, obviously you're generating an extra copy, but I'm trying to think if there's like any way that, like, because we play multiple copies of cards in decks, so I'm thinking it's like play this card, then add like another copy of it to your hand. There is a card that does that, but that's all it does. It doesn't like do anything. It's called Gather Your Mind. This is a super old card. Literally all it says is add a Gather Your Mind from your deck to your hand. It does nothing else. That card has never seen play. It is awful.
Interesting.
But like, it doesn't do anything. Like, it doesn't like gain you life. It doesn't draw you a card. It literally is just add another copy of this to your hand, and that's all it does. It's like just for deck thinning. I have no fucking clue.
Interesting. Hearthstone has mechanics where it's like this card costs less for each other card you played this turn. So like that's not depending on the mana cost of the card. Like depends. Obviously the cost, but it could be useful.
Yeah. Twin Spell's like, on the right cards, Twin Spell could be really good. It's nice because you don't have to wait for like a threshold for it to like be good. You just like get the effect. Because I'm trying to think, like, because the spells in Yu-Gi-Oh are so strong that it's like there's a reason we probably don't have like a mechanic like this, because it's like you can't give yourself another copy of one of these spells because they're like so good. Like every spell in Yu-Gi-Oh is crazy.
I will say this, they definitely balanced most of the cards around that fact, but during the era that this was printed, this was 2019, I would say every single Twin Spell card got played other than one.
Interesting. Okay. I like 2 with Ray of Frost specifically, how it's like it plays into itself. So like you can use the first one to freeze something, and then the second one, because it's already frozen, you can deal the dead. That's very like flavorful. I like, kudos to them for that one. And you picked it, so kudos to you for picking it.
It's a good card. I really like that card.
I want to say like Twin Spell would be better for Yu-Gi-Oh if it was like, I'm trying to think of like the types of cards they would like put Twin Spell on, because like they're all just so good. And it's like in Yu-Gi-Oh, if stuff had Twin Spell, that's way better because our games are so much shorter. Where like Mana Thirst is good in like old Yu-Gi-Oh because the games would like go long enough.
That's fair.
So I actually think I put Twin Spell over Mana Thirst, to be honest. I think Twin Spell's like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Twin Spell would be broken.
I think that's a good perspective, by the way, of like saying like how long games go on for, because
right. Because if you never get to the Mana Thirst, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that it has like this effect.
I'll say this: Mana Thirst I think Mana Thirst has a lot of merit. The cool thing about Mana Thirst was it did give you that payoff for being patient with your cards. Sure. But Twin Spell, like even with 29 cards, I think they stack up 1-to-1 with basically every Mana Thirst card available. Like they were really good. Like it's like I said, like you said, like it depends on what it's printed on. But I think having the like versatility of like Ray of Frost just in your hand is so powerful compared to a card like Arcane Bolt, right? Like it's like not the greatest example because you're only getting +1 damage, but and I mean this generally, like every one of the Twin Spell cards saw play. Like they're really good. Like there's one for Mage called Conjurer's Calling, which destroys a minion and it summons 2 minions at the same cost. So if you
is Twin Spell, what the fuck? That's crazy.
That card was fucking crazy. You used to play
That's
the Mountain
crazy.
Giant. Yes, really, really good card. But like they're all kind of like that. Like some of them had to be nerfed because they were just so good because you got to play them twice, right? And then you got to put 2 copies of them in your deck. I agree with you. I would have picked Twin Spell here every single time.
All right, we have Windfury. This is attack twice, right?
Attack twice.
I still got to give it to Twin Spell. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh has stuff that you can attack twice. And like, for the most part, it's like bad just because it's like, again, we just, like I said, combat's like a means to an end. Like even in old Yu-Gi-Oh, there was a whole deck. I think I don't know if I showed you the card or not, but there's a card called Armed Samurai Benkei. And it has the ability that for every card equipped to it, it can attack an additional time during combat. So there was a whole deck called Benkei OTK, which is funny because it rhymed. You would just literally play a Benkei, put like 3 or 4 equip spells on him. He's like 3,000 attack or 4,000 attack, whatever. And you hit your opponent like 4 times and kill them.
Shit. Okay.
That was like an actual deck in like old Yu-Gi-Oh. It wasn't like particularly like meta or anything. It was more like off meta, but it was like something fun you could do. There's also another old Yu-Gi-Oh card for all the boomers out there called Mataza the Zapper. All it was a 1,300 attack monster that could attack twice. And so there were some decks that tried to like pump up Mataza, and then like you could just like attack twice and like try to kill your opponent. The Benkei thing was a lot better, but like Mataza like never saw play, like, or hardly saw play in like old Yu-Gi-Oh. And like by new Yu-Gi-Oh standards, it's just like, unless you have some guy that's like 4,000 attack and it just says it can attack twice for some dumb reason, but it's like most of the time that doesn't even matter that it can attack twice.
Okay, interesting.
So I would say Twin Spell is way better than Windfury.
Okay, I think that's God, the perspective of Yu-Gi-Oh is so interesting here. Windfury is actually like a really good mechanic in Hearthstone if it's on a minion that's already on board that can attack. Right, like that's usually the defining factor. There's a lot of really good minions that have like Rush and Windfury that can impact the board and like swap life or get so much tempo on board because you're able to kill 2 things at once. But this is a tough question. I would be really curious to see what like Hearthstone people have to say here. There's been a lot of OTKs from Windfury minions. That's the thing. But it's usually because it has the combination of like charge or something. So
interesting. Yeah, it's like it's funny because it's like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like it also is like an OTK enabler, but it's like, again, we have so much removal and there's so many ways to like stop that it's like it's fine that exists in our game. Yes. Like I'm looking right now like at cards that can like attack twice, and I'm thinking like I don't think like any of these cards ever saw like legitimate play. There's one card in particular called Daigusto Phoenix. I'll quickly show it to you, I guess, just for, so I can take over this video.
No, you're fine.
This card, give this a read. You remember Xyz monsters?
Holy shit, what the hell? Once per turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card to target 1 face of wind monster you control. This turn, it can attack twice during each battle phase. Okay.
Yeah, so the benefit of Phoenix was that, so it can target itself, so it can attack twice. You could also do things to like buff it up potentially. You have to play a level 2 deck in order to play this, so not every deck could play it. But the thing here is that it was in your extra deck. So it's like if your opponent's on like 3,000 or less life points, you could like make a Daigusto Phoenix and like kill them. That was like, so you don't have to play it in your actual deck. It was more like a utility, like, oh, I see a game shot with Daigusto Phoenix. I can play Daigusto Phoenix and kill them. Okay. But even then, this was like a very niche card. It was not like, it did not see like widespread play or anything.
I'm going to say you could pick whatever one you want for this, by the way, for this keyword. I think like there's a conversation to be had for Windfury. The one thing I will say comparison to Yu-Gi-Oh is that you could actually set up Windfury OTKs from hand in Hearthstone, right? Like if you had a way to give it charge and stuff. I'm going to show you this card as well, because I think this card's also really intriguing when it comes to Windfury.
Ooh, adjacent minions have Windfury. That's interesting. Yeah, because it's like stuff you already have out, and you can just start swinging.
So the way you could look at Windfury is like you basically like gave it a buff to have double the attack rate. I think that's another really good way of looking at it. And depending on the cost, it can be really egregious. I think Battlemaster and Inara procs your weapon twice, which is like really, really good. That's why I showed her. But I think you could dig Twin Spell as well. I'd be curious to see what people have to say in the comments. Because
to me, that's like a 100-0 that Twin Spell is better. So that's really interesting. I'm curious to see what the comments say about that too. Yeah,
because that's just purely board centric versus like what your game is. Okay, here's this one. I'm extremely excited to hear which one do you think is better. So I'm not looking at the card for Dragonfire Amulet. We're looking at Tradable here. I'm going to remind you what Tradable is. Tradable is you can hover the card over your deck. You could spend 1 mana to put it back in your deck and you draw a card.
Does it shuffle or does it go to the bottom?
Shuffles. It used to go to the bottom. They changed it.
So it's like similar to like cycling in Magic in a way, except it's like it's better actually because cycling's kind of expensive on some cards. But cycle goes to the graveyard, not back into the deck.
This goes back to the
interesting.
Deck. Yeah.
Does Yu-Gi-Oh have anything like we have cards that shuffle cards back into the deck to like draw cards, but like it doesn't do itself. We have a card that shuffles itself back into the deck to like draw you a card. We have cards that you can like banish it or like shuffle it from the graveyard into your deck to draw you a card. I don't think we have a card you can play from hand to put back into your deck to like draw a different card. I don't think that's a mechanic Yu-Gi-Oh has.
Okay.
Would that be good? Potentially, because card draw in Yu-Gi-Oh, as you know, is awful.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, isn't Tradable like really good in your game? If you have
it's interesting, right? I'm gonna show you this card as an example here.
I was also gonna say you guys don't have mana, so in theory, like the way this translates over is like 0 mana, draw a card, put this card back in your deck.
Upstart Goblin, draw 1 card, then your opponent gains 1,000 life points. I feel like you've showed me this before. Maybe I
may have shown you this card. So this card, this might seem bad, but in Yu-Gi-Oh, for a long time, every deck was playing 3 copies of this card. Because the theory is it thins your deck by 3 cards. And yeah, like you could argue you're giving your opponent 3,000 life points if you go through all 3. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, like I said, like it's not hard for you to like get enough damage to like make up for the fact that you're giving your opponent 1,000 life points. So it's like instead of playing a 40 card deck, everyone will play a 37 card deck. It's funny now because like no one plays Upstart Goblin because each card in Yu-Gi-Oh has to be so powerful that like you can't afford to just play something like this anymore. If you're playing a deck that needs like to see a particular card or like a particular 2-card combo out of like several different cards, that would be very good for you, even though you're not thinning the deck, but you still get another shot to see a card and it comes at like no cost. Okay. You said it costs like 1 mana?
Costs 1 mana in Hearthstone, yeah.
Okay, so you do have to do something. You still have to pay a little bit, but like even in Yu-Gi-Oh, if it was like we don't have mana, maybe it's like pay 500 life points or like 1,000 life points to do that. You would still probably do that.
Interesting. Okay,
is Twin Spell just better at that point?
Ooh, that's an interesting thought, right? So I will say for the defense and Tradable here, well, not the defense, but give you more context. A lot of Tradable cards are like tech cards. So there's one.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. Like, are cards that are just generally like really good that every deck wants to play have Tradable, or is it only like niche cards?
I think a lot of them are catered towards like specific problems you might have. So like if you need to silence all your opponent's minions, like Priest has a card that like that. But if you don't need to do that right now, you put it back in your deck.
Interesting. Okay.
So they've actually utilized this keyword in the tradable mechanic in a bunch of different ways, but I showed you Dragonfire Amulet because not only is the card good, but one of the problems Big Mage has over Hearthstone's history is like, let's say the card's in your hand and you don't want it in your hand because you have another spell that cheats it out for cheaper. So if you drew that card, it's like, oh, like one of my most powerful cards are now in my hand. I'm gonna have to wait for 10 mana, but I can actually trade it back in my deck. And now that enables that activation again, right? So like that's one of the great mechanics of it. It's not just like, oh, let me cycle a card. It allows to put a card that wants to be back in your deck.
Yeah, like historically there are cards like that we consider like bricks in Yu-Gi-Oh, but they're like requirements to play. We did a whole video about this. Remember the video we did where I showed you like a really powerful card, but you have to play a really bad card to enable it? Yeah. So like we have that problem all the time where it's like, you want to, if you have a way to like shuffle that card back into the deck to like re-enable the good card, that's really good for you. But most of them don't have the ability to like shuffle themselves back. So you have to play like other cards that can potentially do that. And there are ways that people have done that before.
Okay.
For people watching, like just as a basic example, you can do like, I guess I'll show you, like just as we're on the subject of it.
But it's going to be 5 hours long.
I honestly probably with how this is going. Okay, so here's like a classic example. So give this guy a read.
Destiny Hero Malicious You banish this card from your graveyard to special summon one Destiny Hero Malicious from your deck.
Okay, simple enough, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
And then there's this card.
Oh, multiple cards. Okay.
It's just 2 cards, yeah, because it's a little combo.
Plague Spreader Zombie. Holy shit, that are. Draw 1 card from your hand to the top of the deck to special summon this card from the graveyard. If you do, remove this card from play when it's removed from the field.
So one of the big Malicious was a very
okay.
powerful card, and still is a very powerful card. And so one of the things with Malicious is if you draw it in your opening hand, it's awful unless you have a way to discard it. So one of the cute ways to put it back in the deck is you can Plague Spreader Zombie, stack the Malicious in your hand back on top, and then you can, if you have a Malicious already in the graveyard, you can theoretically like shuffle your deck because you can like special a Malicious out, and now your deck is shuffled. So like it gets rid of a card essentially. So that's like a way to like put something back that you don't necessarily want. So that's like a basic way that like we can do stuff like that. Like, but we like Tradable. God, it's so tough. It's like if Tradable's baked into like the actual main engine cards, it would be really good. But if it's like tech cards, I think that makes it a lot worse. So I actually think Twin Spell wins here.
Interesting.
Still.
Really?
Twin Spell
Wow.
and Yu-Gi-Oh would just be cracked, like just straight up.
I'm trying to. Some cards that are like, there's some win condition cards with Tradable, but for example, there's a card called like Amulet of Undying, which is for each time it trades, it upgrades. So like rather than resurrecting 1 minion, if you trade it 3 times, you resurrect 4. So like there's stuff like that. But again, that's like a long time in the game. It has to go on for a decent amount of point. I'm shocked you picked Twin Spell, but I'm not going to disagree with you either because I do think Twin Spell is a really good mechanic. I think
it's close. Like if Tradable, like I said, if Tradable was built into like an archetype where like every card had Tradable like on it, that would be really good because then you're like very consistently seeing access to like the cards you want to see. But when you said that it's like only really baked into like more like tech cards or cards that are like a little bit more niche, I think that hurts it for like from like a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective. It would have to be like the whole archetype like has Tradable for it to be like really, really good, I feel like.
Okay, that makes complete sense. Okay, let's try this one.
All right, Twin Spell versus Frenzy. I'm assuming we're not doing Rush.
No, Rush will not be for this card. We'll talk about Rush later on because I feel like Rush would you might pick Rush over like any other keyword, so I don't want to bring it in too early.
We have it in our game, so we have Charge in our game technically.
Charge will be brought up later as well. Frenzy is when this minion takes damage but does not die, you proc the Frenzy. I showed you Blademaster Samaro because Blademaster Samaro was really good with Priest. Because if you gave this minion lifesteal, which we'll talk about lifesteal later, you were able to proc the Frenzy, and it's like you did an AoE, but also healed for a shit ton. Because you could also buff the minion up, of course, and all this stuff. So
it's if the minion takes damage, it deals damage to its attack to every other minion.
Yes.
An enemy minion. Okay.
I will say for Frenzy that this card is probably the best one, and it's not even fucking close. Hold on.
I was gonna say hold.
Let me show you this card.
You like corrected yourself like mid video or mid response there.
Let me show you this. Maybe 2 here. There's two.
Efficient Octobot to 1/4 Frenzy. Reduce the cost of cards you hear. Okay, all right. That's interesting. So it's not. So it's just if it takes damage, do X.
Yes.
And survives. It has to survive, right? Or does it still work if it dies?
It has to survive.
It has to survive. Interesting. So. No, this is interesting because Yu-Gi-Oh has cards that destroy other cards you control. Because like our minions don't have life, right? Like it's like bigger number wins. So it's hard to like have like a 1-to-1 here. But the best example I can think of to compare this is we have cards that like destroy your own cards, but then like those other cards give you value because you destroyed them. So it's like your classic like if you pop a Death Rattle minion yourself, like you trigger the effect, right? It's stuff like that. I think Twin Spell still wins, man.
Okay,
I mean,
that's
like
fair. Listen, that's fair. That is fair.
Yeah,
It's
like Frenzy's like I think it's fine. It's just I think it's too niche. I think it's like you either have to rely on your opponent triggering it, or you have to have your own way to trigger it. And it's like, is it gonna be advantageous for you to do so? Because it's like, okay, with Samuro, if your opponent doesn't have a board, like it doesn't do anything, right? With Octobot, like Octobot's like pretty good because it's like reducing stuff in your hand by 1 generally is just always good for like Hearthstone. Like, and so like effects like similar to this in Yu-Gi-Oh, like the comparison that I'm making, like they're good, don't get me wrong, but like Twin Spell just still seems so broken comparatively.
Let me ask you another question here. There are cards in Hearthstone that allow you to proc Frenzy all on its own. Like you didn't need like your opponent to have another minion on board for you.
No, sure. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like I said, like we have cards that do that, and like they're good. Don't get me wrong. Like so, I'll just show you like a basic example here. Yeah, this is good. Your audience is getting two for one. They should be happy.
They should be happy. Everyone like the video right now.
Exactly, right now. All right, so here's this card. This is like one of the most basic old Yu-Gi-Oh cards that exist.
Heavy Storm. Destroy all spells and trap cards on the field. Okay.
So this might be crazy to you.
Oh god. Nothing in Yu-Gi-Oh is that crazy anymore.
You know this card too, which is good.
Harpy's Feather Duster. Destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls.
So Duster's one-sided, Heavy Storm's both players. Would you believe me if I told you Duster was unbanned before Heavy Storm?
Based on the context of this conversation, I can understand. But
yeah,
I think
because they were afraid that Heavy Storm would be like a way to enable you destroying your own spell and trap cards to get value from destroying those cards. Because there are plenty of spells and traps that like says like when it's destroyed, do X. And so it's crazy because like you would think Harpy's Feather Duster is like the objectively the better card here. But it got unbanned before Heavy Storm, and like by several years, as a matter of fact. Heavy Storm like just got unbanned for us like last like 1 or 2 lists ago. I want to say
that's actually really weird because in Hearthstone, like I feel like it would be the complete opposite. If Flame Strike has deal 5 damage to your opponent's board, if it was both sides, it would be like unplayable fucking garbage. Like it wouldn't even be close. Even if you wanted to proc your death battles, like it would just be like, why the hell am I doing this? I'd rather just go face and push tempo, right?
All right, what's next? We have temporary. I know temporary.
For those people who do not know, that means this card is generated in your hand and you have until the end of your turn to play it.
Twin spell. Straight up twin spell. Why get a temporary version when you get to keep the card forever? I'm just saying.
That's fair. This is also why, by the way, like I told you off recording, like I don't think this video is going to be as long as you think it is, because a lot of the time you're going to see twin spell or you're going to see a keyword that you think is just really
just
good.
Be like, yeah, this is better. Yeah, yes. No, that's why I'm helping you fill your ad revenue by showing you Yu-Gi-Oh cards as well.
All right, let's relax. Relax. All right, here's the next one. Overkill is obviously you could probably guess by the name, but when you do more damage than your opponent's life and you kill them, or when you do more damage than
minion's life, right? Not your opponent.
Yes.
So like hypothetically, if you have a 6 attacker and they have 5 health, that's overkilling.
Yes, but it also procs in your own minions as well. So if you deal more damage to any minion's life, and ergo you overkill.
Wait, what do you mean?
So like in this case, Blast Wave says deal 2 damage to all minions. If you have a 1 health minion on your side of the board and you cast Blast Wave, it also
counts your own minions.
Yeah,
that's what you mean. Okay, so you can overkill your own stuff.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it purely from like minion versus minion. Okay. Twin spell.
I don't think anyone's gonna disagree with you on that one. Overkill is a really bad mechanic.
I think you may have told me overkill was bad in a previous video, and like I get why. It's just like it's so specific, and it's like
horrible. It's horrible. Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah.
There's no.
It's funny because like in Yu-Gi-Oh, we overkill everything when we do combat because we have to.
You do not need to defend overkill. Okay, you don't need.
Okay.
It's fucking horrible. Okay,
good.
Here's another.
That was bait. That was bait. That's what
it was. If you picked overkill, it would have been funny. All right.
CGB will pick it. Don't worry. This is Outcast. I think you may have told me Outcast before, but I don't remember what it is. I'll be honest.
Outcast is when you cast the spell or any card. Sorry, I should say card. When you cast the card in the leftmost or rightmost position. So in other words,
that's really interesting. That's so interesting.
This is purely for Demon Hunter. If you top deck Skull of Gul'dan, it's already an Outcast position, right? Like if you top
because
deck
you just drew it and it goes to the right of your hand, and stuff like slowly makes its way to the left as you
Exactly.
That's so interesting just because like in Yu-Gi-Oh, we shuffle our hand like all the time. Like that's just like the typical like gamer like card flicking.
Yes, we can't do that in Hearthstone.
I don't know if it's just like Nat. Yeah, you can't do that in Hearthstone. Like your hand is just like fixed. And I find that so interesting because I've seen like you guys have clients where it shows like how long the card has like been in their hand. So you can like kind of like think about how like what that card is and like if it's like have they been holding it since turn 1 and it's like a crazy power card that they're waiting to play or like I think that's really interesting that the way like Hearthstone's designed like that like that's like part of the game is like that aspect. That's really fascinating.
I think it's a good design. I will give them credit for. I'm not a Demon Hunter player. I hate the class. I've said it multiple times. I think Outcast is one of the most unique designs that they've ever added.
It's a very unique design. I still give it to Twin Spell here, but I like because the problem is you don't have like when you draw a card, it's already outcasted. But if you don't play that card immediately, it immediately doesn't become outcasted, and then you have to play your whole hand out on the left to make it outcasted again.
That is fair.
So it has
100%. I get you.
Yeah, and so that just like makes the card potentially like really bad depending on what the outcast effect is. Where again, like Twin Spell just gives you a free spell, like that's crazy, you know, and it's you can do it whenever. So like from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, we really value like how flexible a card is in terms of like how like it can be used. Okay. And so like if Yu-Gi-Oh had Outcast, sure, that could be crazy. Sure. But like we'd rather just have the ability to have the agency at all times to just have everything be good.
Let me show you this card real fast before you finish answering.
Is this another Outcast card?
This is another Outcast. I'm just curious to see what you think of this card.
Draw a card, Outcast, draw another card. See, this is interesting because it's like, it's hard to like one-to-one it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because like we shuffle our hand. But it's weird. It's like, I guess the way you could do it is, so we have certain types of cards. I guess I could show you as an example because, you know, I've already been doing that this whole time anyway.
This is truly a 2-for-1 special here.
It is, exactly. Your audience is they're getting so spoiled today. This is the most classic one I can think of. So this is Cold Wave.
You showed me
so
this
give this
before.
a read. I think I have showed you this before, yeah.
Cold Wave, this card can only be activated at the start of your main phase 1 until your next turn. Neither player can activate or set spell or trap cards or activate their effects.
Yeah, so I think how Yu-Gi-Oh would like translate this is like this has to be the first card you play during your turn. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh, if Pot of Greed were legal, the idea is you would play a bunch of cards that would get other cards out of your deck first to thin the deck, and then you would play Pot of Greed last because then you have the highest likelihood of drawing whatever cards you're looking for. Because if you thin your deck by like 5 cards first, now you're picking out of like a 30 card deck versus like a 35 card deck instead of just slamming Pot of Greed immediately. So one of like our interesting mechanics is that not lately, but like more recently, they've been exploring this mechanic more where like there's several cards that say this has to be the first card you play during your turn. Otherwise you can't play it for the entire
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So cool. I think that's like the closest thing to Outcast in a way. It's like a more like roundabout way of doing it. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And like Cold Wave's banned actually for context. Like this card saw like play and it's just very annoying. Like in that sense, if Pot of Greed said it has to be the first card you play that turn, people would still play Pot of Greed because it says draw 2. But like it's not exactly the same versus Outcast because it's like if like you don't play it, it's like you'd have to be like the turn you draw this card, you have to play it to get the effect.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
So Outcast is also balanced completely around like mana costs, right? Like that's
okay.
So you don't have to defend your opinion on Twin Spell being better than Outcast, right? I'm just shocked because I've like Demon Hunter's absolutely traumatized me over the years. People realize really early on with Outcast that in order for you to get Outcast, you have to run like a pretty low curve deck because you need to cycle
you
your
want
hand.
to be able to play everything to be able to like re-outcast stuff if you can't outcast it initially. Makes sense.
The original card I showed you, Skull of Gul'dan, was the highest cost card in like the best Demon Hunter deck at the time because what you wanted to do is play all your minions and then you draw Skull of Gul'dan and then hopefully you can just keep going through another Skull of Gul'dan because it's outcasted, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting. Now, in Yu-Gi-Oh, it makes a lot more sense that you would think Twin Spell's better because you guys don't have mana cost whatsoever. So how the fuck would they balance the cards? Like it'd be kind of ridiculous.
Which is why I sort of like made the analog with like you have to play it like the first card of the turn, or it's like we do have cards that say when you draw this card, like you have to do the thing now, otherwise like you don't get to do it essentially.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So it would have to be like that type of card just because we're physical versus digital.
No,
and like those types of cards, some of them have seen play, but I think for the most part, most of them aren't like pushed enough that they're like that good. Stealth. So stealth, if I recall, is like you can't attack or target it until that minion attacks, right?
So depending on the circumstances of the stealth, sometimes minions are just permanently stealth until they do an action. Other times they're going to be stealth for 1 turn, which is like conceal, right?
What do you say do an action?
So for instance, Ragnaros says at the end of your turn, you deal 8 damage to a random enemy.
Okay.
In Hearthstone, if you stealth Ragnaros and he does his ability at the end of it, he will unstealth.
Interesting. So if they have an ability that triggers it, also unstealths them. It's not just attacking.
Yeah, if it that would be an experience to say the least. If they didn't do that, I remember trying in the class and be like, "Holy fuck, I'm a genius!" And then I realized it unstealth, and they did that purely probably for balancing. Stealth's a really hard mechanic to balance properly.
because it's either often too good or they put it on a minion that's just unplayable because of how powerful the mechanic can be. I showed you Conceal because Conceal is arguably the best stealth card ever printed, and it was one of the best combos to use with Edwin Van Cleef. Pun intended.
Okay. So the closest analog for Yu-Gi-Oh is probably things that say like can't be targeted or can't be destroyed, or we have some things that are just like immune to everything, which is like ridiculous.
We'll get to immune later.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I still think Twin Spell wins though. It's like
what?
By Yu-Gi-Oh standards, like there's so many ways to play around something that has like protection from X, because there's so many like different ways to interact with something. Like, because it's like if it does it have targeting protection, you can target it. If it doesn't have destruction protection, you can do things that like would not destroy it but still remove it from the field, because you can like bounce it to the hand, you can shuffle it into the deck, you can
hold on,
you can banish it.
In Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Let's say I stealth my Baron just for like sake of a card, right? In theory, you wouldn't be able to target it with anything because it's stealthed. Like you would have
It doesn't matter, because Yu-Gi-Oh has cards that don't target but still remove stuff. Like there's a card that says, I'll show it to you. So there's a card here that like we have just like very interesting forms of removal in our game. Which allow us to play around all these protection effects. So here's a very classic, I say classic, but this card's actually like relatively, like it's newer-ish. So like, so there's this card here. Give this a read. You know Mirror Force, they retrained Mirror Force.
Drowning Mirror Force. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, shuffle all your opponent's attack position monsters into the deck. Okay, like that's...
So this doesn't target. So like if something's stealthed and attacks, we can still remove it. And so there's like a million different types of like unique removal effects. We also have like the kaijus, if you remember those. So like I could kaiju over your minion that has stealth, and now it's squishy so I can interact with it, right? So... in our game, I'm not saying it's not annoying when things have like protection effects, but like we have so many different angles to like deal with protection effects that they're not really that bad, all things considered. Twin Spell still carries.
Okay, all right, fair. I'm not gonna again. I won't say you're wrong. I still think Twin Spell is one of the best mechanics they've ever made.
But you think you would pick stealth?
I think I'm picking stealth. I just feel like, at least in Hearthstone, like the amount of times I've lost a game because I couldn't target a specific minion. I've also shown you the card. Oh my God, I forgot what it's called. Something with shadows, with this like the rogue one that makes your hero go stealth. So like your opponent can't target your opponent's face whatsoever. And like that gives you extra turns to just win the game. Obviously, you guys don't have a hero in Yu-Gi-Oh, but like stealth.
I get what you mean.
Stealth over Hearthstone's entirety, basically because it's a more board-centric game, monster combat, I should say. It allows for like really weird things for your opponent to try to answer, but then they can't because they can't target it. So I thought for sure you'd be like, okay, stealth is like probably going to be really good at Yu-Gi-Oh because you just can't. Interesting.
No, it's like it's weird. It's like, again, I'm not saying it's not annoying, and there are some things in Yu-Gi-Oh that are like basically immune in your game where they're like almost like invulnerable to everything, and like the only way to get rid of it's like a kaiju or something. Our game is so old, and they've come up with so many more unique ways to like have removal effects that there's like, for any particular metagame, if there's something that has like a protection effect, people are just going to play like the answers that like it doesn't. It's because it's being immune to everything is pretty rare. There's usually like an angle you can attack it from that's like, oh, this card answers this card very effectively. We just have so many. I'm telling you, like the amount of removal in Yu-Gi-Oh is just like nuts, and we have so many different ways.
Extremely interesting. Okay, no worries. All right, this one I probably know the answer to it, but I'm just curious to see what you have to say.
This one is this taunt.
You're looking for taunt here, yeah. Yeah.
Twin Spell carries 100%. Yeah, no shot.
I
don't. Does Yu-Gi-Oh even? Yu-Gi-Oh, there's like some cards have taunt. Very few. Like it's like this card must be attacked first or something like that. Like I think of like one or two cards that have that, but like very few cards do. Everything kind of has taunt in the sense that like you can't go face in Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
But like in terms of like a specific, like you have to attack a specific creature first. There's a couple cards that do that, but for the most part, it's a pretty rare mechanic, and it's like it's not like particularly good. Like it's like whatever.
Jesus Christ, I'm shocked how long this is last. All right, let's hear this one. Obviously, this one's not going to matter too much for you, but
this is probably one of the most important mechanics in Hearthstone.
Start of game. If this deck only has odd cost cards, upgrade your hero power. This is a really interesting mechanic. I kind of wish Yu-Gi-Oh would go into this space because aside from the cards I showed you, like Cold Wave that says like you have to play this like first, we don't have like a start of game mechanic like at all. I can't think of a single card that does anything like that.
I don't even think Magic
it'd be cool.
has one.
I think it'd be cool potentially. Twin Spell still wins though, straight up.
I would say over like the start of game mechanics, Baku is probably objectively the best one. Obviously, I'm not going to go through what the upgraded hero powers are. Like, there's just no time for that. It was really, really good.
I can assume it's just like, what is it, like Warlock, you just like draw 2? Or like with Paladin, someone's like a 2/2 guy?
Paladin was summon 2 1/1s.
Oh, 2 1/1s instead of a 2/2 guy.
Warlocks was draw a card, but you take no damage.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
So there was
it's just like it either like gives you an extra stat or like takes away something. Sure. Okay.
I just have a really good idea for a
Is
video.
Warrior like, does Warrior give like 3 armor instead of 2?
Warrior's
something
4.
like that. Oh, 4. Okay. So sure.
There was like
I get the idea though.
There was legit decks like cater across like odd Warrior or like even Warlock or because
that's really cool.
So
that's a cool concept. Yeah.
This one's tough. I would have to say that Baku the Moon Eater was so powerful at its time that like I would have to go start a game. Even though again I do think Twin Spell is really good, but they had to rotate Baku and Gen early because of just how much it was warping the game. So
sure. It's interesting from Yu-Gi-Oh's perspective too, because Yu-Gi-Oh, the games are so short that a start of game mechanic would actually be very powerful because you'd actually like immediately get the effect. Like I would say out of like a lot of these you showed me, this is probably like the closest to like knocking down Twin Spell, but I still think
really
Twin Spell carries.
Okay, fair. No, this is I'm shocked how long Twin Spell's lasted. All right,
I was gonna say like you picked that as like one of the shitty ones, and you're like,
no,
oh wow,
I did it. I swear to God, I didn't pick it as a shitty one. I actually really think the mechanic's good. I wish they would do it again. Like I think it's a really well done mechanic. It's fun to play with. Okay, Dredge. What's
Dredge?
Dredge is look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck and bring it to the top.
Look at the bottom 3 of your deck and bring it to the top.
So you pick. Sorry, I spelled that poorly. Dredge is you look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck, you pick one, and you put that card on the top of your deck so you know you're drawing. That's what it is.
Oh, you only put one on top.
Only one. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I explained the first time horribly, but that's what it is. Aquatic Form is objectively probably the best Dredge card. I can't even think of one that competes with this card. So
sure, that makes sense. Huh. Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't really do a lot with cards on the bottom of the deck. Like there are cards that are like that put stuff on the bottom of the deck instead of shuffling it in, but there's nothing that's like get cards from the bottom of your there's what the closest card to interacting with I never thought I would show you this card. I actually may have shown you 2 already, actually, now that I think about it. The closest card to interacting with stuff on the bottom of the deck is this card, and this card is hilarious. So I'll show it to you just so your audience can get to see it as well.
You showed me this card. Yeah, I just forgot to see it.
Yeah. So this card flips your deck upside down. Yeah. So like theoretically, you're drawing from the bottom of your deck. This card only saw play in like a FTK deck and like once, and has never seen play since. And it was really bad. I think it'd be kind of a neat concept to be able to like manipulate, like, because you get to look at the bottom stuff too, and you get to put one on top. Yeah. Like Yu-Gi-Oh does have some like draw 1 effects. That's like draw 1 is like not uncommon. So it could be really good that if you like dredge something on top and then you get to have a draw effect to draw it, like that could be good. But it's not Twin Spell, man. It's not Twin Spell. Twin Spell still wins.
Holy fuck, that's crazy. God, this is another tough one because I look at Aquatic Form and I know how good it is. Like that card is absurd. Also, like it's interesting how maybe this doesn't matter as much in Yu-Gi-Oh as it does in Hearthstone, but the knowledge of knowing what cards are at the bottom of your deck does help you make decisions going forward because you know that you're not going to draw a specific card, like especially if it's a legendary, right?
Well, see, in Yu-Gi-Oh, we shuffle our deck like 50 times a turn. So like most of the time putting stuff to the bottom doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. That's, that's a fair point. So like, because you shuffle your deck so often, it's almost like Dredge isn't worth putting in because you don't know what's going to be at the bottom of your deck like a turn.
Right, exactly. Like, so there's, I actually showed you a card in a recent video that you draw 4 and put 3 cards on the bottom of your deck. Like, there's very few effects that actually put stuff on the bottom. But then again, after you do that, you're probably going to play some effect that you go tutor something out of your deck anyway. So the deck just gets shuffled. So there's like no value in the cards being on the bottom. They just get shuffled back in anyway.
That's fair. So like, because you have to actually go through your deck and find the specific card, you have to reshuffle. So
you have to reshuffle precisely. And we tutor in our game like multiple times a turn. It's not like going into our deck is a rare thing in our game.
Let's just say, just for the sake of argument here,
the cards you see at the bottom of your deck for Dredge, they do not interact in the shuffling, meaning those 2 cards would still be at the bottom of your deck. Would you still make the same decision?
I would. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's still, it doesn't matter, I feel like.
You should be familiar with this.
My man's got Ray of Frost on the Control C. We're just ready to go.
I literally I have an auto queue already on Discord. Like I put it in immediately.
You already have it ready. You already have it ready.
Okay, this one
I guess we're talking about elusive here.
Elusive, yes, because you've seen taunt already. I picked this one because you, at this point in time, you should the announcement should already be out for this, for the event.
Hopefully.
So you must have seen.
We played this card. We played this card.
I did play this card.
We didn't play it like voluntarily. We got it summoned for us, but we did get to play with it.
Exactly. Well, I mean,
I think we had 2 of them.
Yes, disgusting card. It's on board.
Yeah,
and
it's a cool card. I like this card. So elusive. So how's elusive different than stealth?
So stealth means you can't be targeted by anything. Elusive is you can't be targeted by spells or your opponent's hero power.
All right, twin spell. Okay. Next. If it's worse stealth, there's no discussion.
So I think on average, yes, it is worse stealth. In this particular card, because it's taunt and elusive.
I mean, this card's crazy. Yeah, but I don't know. It's still like whatever. Again, like Yu-Gi-Oh, we have so many answers to this card. It's like this card. Like we look at this and we laugh at this. Yeah.
Okay. What about this one? Obviously, you know what a secret is. It's basically your trap card for Yu-Gi-Oh, for Hearthstone.
So are we doing secret or are we doing immune? Because those are 2 different keywords.
I will do secret here. Immune will be another one. I think ice block. Okay, go for it.
Secrets like are trap cards, and like trap cards are, but like the thing is in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, no one plays trap cards because they're too slow. So twin spell. So like, okay, let me give some context. Old Yu-Gi-Oh, and like, okay, there is some trap decks. There's a couple trap decks in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but the thing is, the trap cards basically don't work like trap cards. Like they basically just say you can like set them down and then like immediately activate them. They had to like basically make them spell cards with like extra steps essentially. So I'm not gonna say like trap cards are unplayable in Yu-Gi-Oh, but like they're so slow because you have to set them for a turn. And for the most part, especially when you're playing like competitive, there's only like a handful of trap cards that are actually going to see play. So like if you know what they are, you can like kind of play around them. Sure. And so like in older Yu-Gi-Oh, trap cards were like way more valuable because like a lot of removal was in the form of trap cards, like Mirror Force and stuff. And like the game was a lot slower. So like trap cards had a much higher impact because you could actually set them and afford to like just do that and not do anything else. And like that's totally like a valid move. They're still fine. I'm not saying they're bad, but like it's not twin spell, like just straight up.
I am. Wow. So God, secrets on average are good. Ice block is like the definitive best secret of all time. It's not I mean,
our secrets are better because we don't have like we can use them whenever. Like yours, like the opponent kind of procs them, right? Like ours, we can choose to not use it at a certain point and wait. So ours are like objectively better than yours. But twin spell is still better. It's still better.
Would ice block see play in Yu-Gi-Oh as this trap card?
Makes you immune? What an interesting question. I want to say no because we have a card. We have a card similar to Ice Block, and it never saw play. We don't have like an exact version of it, but I'm trying to think like how this would work. It's like it'd be like you take no damage for the entire turn or something like that.
I was assuming like it would be like you can't lose, something along those lines, or like maybe unless it's like the card specifically says end the game, but like. Yeah, I guess no damage is probably the best.
It's like, okay, so like you can't lose the game. If there's a trap card that just said you can't lose the game, would that see play? That's so crazy that I have to think about this and not immediately
I'm shocked it's not an immediate yes, because not only do you get like, not only do you survive, but then you draw another card at the start of your turn. So
it's interesting because it's a card though that doesn't do anything if you're going first. Because if you're going first, like, yeah, okay, you have a card that you're not going to die necessarily. Is there like any way to interact with Ice Block?
Yes, there are cards that like kill secrets. Kind of like the same concept of like destroying trap cards.
Like that kill trap cards.
Yeah.
Okay. But it'd be like, it's interesting because it's like, if it was just you can't die this turn and it's a trap and you could chain it, like if your opponent tries to destroy it and like you're just like, you can't die that turn. That would actually be like a really interesting card in our game.
I mean, it's a cool card in Hearthstone.
Because it forces, it not only, it's like the presence of it would be interesting because even if no one played it, there's still this chance because like if your opponent overextends and they like run into this, now they're vulnerable like for your like crackback to be able to like you to kill them because they like played into this type of card.
Yes.
We sort of have like, we have hand traps that are like a pseudo version of this. Like it doesn't prevent you from dying, but it like the way the card works, it makes it that you're not going to die that turn. Without like straight up saying it, essentially. So like this is like maybe the closest thing I can think of that would be like this. This has a little bit of text, so I apologize.
I don't know if I've actually seen it. How do you
That's
pronounce
okay. This is an interesting card. This is Nibiru, either way.
The primal being. During the main phase of your opponent normal or special summon 5 or more monsters this turn. Quick effect, you contribute as many face-up monsters on the field as possible, and if you do special summon this card from your hand, then special summon 1 primal being token to your opponent's field. Token's attack defense becomes the combined original attack of the tributed monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn.
So this doesn't straight up say you don't die, but basically if your opponent does like a huge push, you can punish them with Nibiru. Their whole board gets wiped. You get the rock. They get a token that's the combined stats of everything that got sacked off, but you can put that token in defense mode on their field, so they can't attack you with it. So if that's all they do, you just like win the game, because next turn you just kill the token and just like attack them and just kill them.
Yeah.
So this is like kind of like that in a way, but it's like not straight up saying like you can't lose the game.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm trying to think if there's just a trap card that just straight up said you cannot lose the game with that C play. And I think it would, because our turns are so quick. And then you'd have to respect the fact that that's a card. There'd have to be like restrictions on it though. Spell damage, I'm assuming, is the keyword.
Yes. Yeah. I will just say we're not going
to Next. Next.
Okay. You want to just elaborate just a little on why spell damage is so bad?
1, it's situational. 2, I think we have some cards in Yu-Gi-Oh that amplify damage of direct damage type cards. Because it's weird, right? Because in Hearthstone, like you can use damage to kill minions, where like in our game we don't really do that because they don't have health. So I think that makes it a lot worse.
Okay.
So it's like for us, it's like you're amplifying direct damage to the face, or it's like otherwise you're like buffing the stats of a guy kind of like in a roundabout way. And in either case, those are both bad. So like that, yeah, it's just not good.
So I will say in Hearthstone, you do have the
spell damage seems good in Hearthstone. I'm not saying it's not. It seems good.
You do have the privilege of using spell damage on your opponent's face as well, right? Like a lot of burn spells are.
Yeah, but it's more flexible in your game, because like in our game we can't use it on creatures.
Well, that's what you're also remember. You're gonna remind yourself you're rating for like what you think is the best keyword in Hearthstone, not necessarily just for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sure. I still think Twin Spell's better. So what is Spellburst?
Spellburst is this minion has to be on board when you proc a spell. When you play a spell, this procs.
Okay, so like I play a guy, I play a spell, the effect triggers.
Yeah. Yep.
Twin Spell. Because you need to have a guy to do the thing. Like, like Twin Spell just does the thing. It's better.
Okay.
I'm giving you an aneurysm.
I just shocked how long it's last. Spellburst was like a really good mechanic. They actually brought it back.
Again, it seems good. Like, it seems like a good mechanic, but again, it's just like like for us, like conditional stuff is just like yeah, you might have like synergy and stuff, but like it's got to be like you can do it every time. And so like there's going to be times where you draw this acolyte and you don't have a spell and then he fucking sucks, right? I mean, it's like he's still a 2/6 with taunt, so he's not terrible, but
there's a chance of Ray of Frost where it's like your opponent has no minions on the board and therefore this card does nothing.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but like you have way more flexibility with at least by itself. Like it's like a self-contained card.
Okay, what about this?
Right?
What about, let me retract Cabal Acolyte for a second. What about this card?
Spellburst, return the spell to your hand. Yeah, like it's still you still need the spell, right? If you don't, it's just a 2-mana 2/3, which is like that's still good stats. I'm not denying that, but like if you don't have spells, it does nothing. It's just a guy. It's a vanilla. What? What?
It's just it's fine. I will say in Spellburst, like especially Diligent Note Taker, bro, this card was like you have to kill this fucking card if they left it on board.
Oh no, that like it seems cracked. I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's like again, like if you don't have the spells, it does nothing. It's a vanilla, and like by Yu-Gi-Oh standard, that's not good. Like you don't want that.
What about but in Hearthstone though? Would you take the Spellburst over the Twin Spell, knowing that like in Hearthstone you have draw?
Nah, I still like Twin Spell.
Holy, I'm shocked. Okay, all right, let's keep it going. Let's keep it all. I remember this one.
Twin Spell to the finish line, baby. Let's go.
You're doing Silence here.
All right, I know Silence. Silence is like it just loses all abilities, right?
Yeah, all text, yeah.
Silence is really good in Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, Silence is permanent too, right?
In Hearthstone, yes. You can't unsilence it.
So Silence is really good. Like if Yu-Gi-Oh had that would be pretty crazy. Because usually things that negate effects of things things that negate effects of things usually only last the turn. It's very rare. I would say it's very rare, but there's fewer cards that like permanently negate something, which is a lot better than just like doing it for the turn.
Ooh, we actually got one where he's not immediately picking.
Well, it's because like the Yu-Gi-Oh brain is just like silence is so common. Even just like negate, like if it was silence for one turn, like conceal is stealth for one turn, right? So it's like even if it was like just silence for a turn, like in our game that's really good. Okay. But like our game has way more interaction on the other person's turn, which I think makes that effect better. And like in your game, it's fine because it's like, oh, it's a way to cancel taunt. It's a way to like just get around like any of these types of like annoying types of effects. So it has a lot more like utility. It's different but similar. Twin spell, man. The twin spell. I gotta commit. Twin spell. I gotta commit. I think silence is worse in your game than ours. I think it's a lot better in our game.
Wow, that's
silence. I'm not saying silence is bad, but I think it has way more mileage in our game comparatively compared to you.
And therefore, you're picking twin spell because you think it's just that much better in Hearthstone than it is in
I am. Yes, I'm committing. I'm committing to it. I'm committing to it.
Okay, at this point, I'm not even gonna give reasoning here. I'm just curious to see how long twin spell's gonna last for. I think silence is one of the best keywords in Hearthstone. It is one of these like unsung heroes that people don't really like respect until you just get absolutely fucking dunked on.
I will say this is like one of the closest I've come to like getting off of twin spell. I will say. Okay. I still think twin spell is better.
All right,
because like the reason I say that is it's typically better fundamentally card game to like do stuff that benefits you than do stuff that's like a detriment to the opponent. And so I think because of that, twin spell ekes it out.
I can understand that. I would say you could make the argument for silence that like silencing an opponent's minion puts you really far ahead for your game.
It does. I'm not saying it does it. But it's like it's not the same. It's not the same. Like I said though, this and I forget what the other card was. This was like one of the closest I came to breaking the twin spell streak, I will say. I had to think about this one for a bit. So Rush is it can only attack minions, right?
Yeah, it does not have summoning sickness for the turn. It can attack minions.
Well, I know there's charge, so like
we'll talk about charge later. I think charge.
I'm gonna say twin spell wins for now because I know charge exists. So
wait, I'm sorry, what? I think objectively speaking, Rush is the better keyword here. I think it's like I think Hearthstone, there's like a moment in time where it could be broken up in two different parts. Before Rush and after Rush. Rush like changed the game entirely. Like
I'm just waiting for charge. I'm just waiting. I know charge exists, so I'm just waiting for it. I might break the streak then. I'm just saying.
You're going with twin spell over Rush. I guess so. in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Let's say you're going second. And they have
everything has charge in our game. Keep that in mind. So, well, it's more like Rush because you can't go face. So it's
hold on.
Rush.
I was gonna say going first doesn't really matter with Rush. Okay, I guess from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective,
yeah, because like you can't attack with Rush going first. Yeah, that's not a thing.
I was gonna say I guess Rush in your game is just like useless. So it's just
it is because everything has Rush in our game. It is useless.
Okay, all right. On to the next one. All right, recruit is. You pull a random minion from your deck. Does not get battlecry. If this was Magic, you would get enter the battlefield though.
That's not bad. That's like twin spell for minions in like a way, right?
Okay.
Kind of. It's like
so
that. But no battlecry is huge. No battlecry is huge.
The one benefit of recruit though, is, I'm gonna take this from like a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, is that you do draw the card and play it immediately without drawing the card.
Sure. I mean Yu-Gi-Oh we tutor stuff all the time. Yeah, I'm not saying that. But it's random. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, we get to pick like almost all the we pick everything. So like that's a huge. The fact it's random is
it's random.
Can you control the randomness? Like can you build your deck a certain way that if there's a recruit effect that you guarantee to get like certain things out? That's a lot better.
Yeah,
that's a lot better.
I was gonna say it's like pseudo random because your deck building like does matter in this case.
Okay, that's fair.
This guy's a diehard twin spell fan.
I at this point I almost have to commit to the bit, and I kind of just want to do it for that. It's random and there's no battle cry. That's rough. I think it's still twin spell to be honest.
What the fuck?
I think it's still twin spell.
I think at this point you're delusional. Just for the record.
At what point did I get delusional? Was it after the Iron Beak Owl?
I think it was Rush for sure, but.
Hearthstone, like the fundamental thing about all card games is that
I guess. Okay, wait. Let me retract. Actually, in Hearthstone, because like I think, to be fair, I was going from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective too much for this video. Hearthstone minions matter a lot more than in Yu-Gi-Oh they matter a lot too, but like from the combat perspective. So I actually do think, because like I'm looking at this, it's like it's giving you like guys for free essentially, which is like really good in your game. You're mana cheating, yeah. I you know what? I actually do think I give it to recruit. Because like you're like the minions do matter a lot in your game.
Yes.
And so like just being able to cheat them out, and especially because it's like controlled randomness, I do actually think in your game specifically, I do think that I think it edges out Twin Spell. I think it does.
Okay, so this is what I was going to say to you before you took back your mind. Rush is delusional, I think. Recruiting is literally mana cheating. Like, it's written mana cheating. Now,
exactly. And mana cheating in your game is, like, crazy.
They did, yes. They did balance it quite a bit because, like, obviously, Woe Cleaver's 8 mana. There's cards that did not show you that were probably even better for, like, Warlock specifically. But it was... If you had, like... There's a card called Possessed Lackey for Warlock that used to be a 5-mana 2/2 recruit a demon. And you would put in just like the biggest demons of all time and just win the games from it because you're managing them and you're drawing them. It was disgusting. This one is Reborn, which is when a minion
Reborn is it comes back with 1 health, right?
Exactly. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, because we did this in a potential thing that may or not be live prior to this video going out. Reborn was crazy from the thing we may or may not be able to talk about. And Yu-Gi-Oh like Reborn is like kind of a very common effect. It may not necessarily bring the minion itself back, but it might just like replace itself with another minion, which is kind of the same thing in like a different way. Yeah, because there's like a thing like if this dies, like you get to summon a guy, or like if this dies, you add a card to your hand, or if this dies, like there's so many things that like on death or when they go to the graveyard, it does a thing. And so like Reborn is very close to that. Again, like we don't have health, but like it might be like the Plague Spreader zombie I showed you. It might be like you can bring a card back, but it like it exiles itself instead of going to the graveyard. So you can't like repeat it multiple times. So that's kind of like Reborn in a way.
Reborn is very synergistic with like death rattles and stuff. So
I mean, Reborn's just really good generally because you still get the attack of the minion, which is like very good. I don't know, like Reborn just seems so cracked when we were maybe playing Hearthstone.
You might have seen. Are you talking about the specific? Like, we'll talk about Dark Gift in a quick second, but you might have also seen the Dark Gift like Reborn, where it actually goes all the way back up to full life and keeps all enchantments, which is like really, really good.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, no, but even just for the 1-drops, it was crazy because it's just like everything traded and then you still kept your whole board basically, so it like didn't matter. And it's like mana cheating like in a way. Because it's like, you're kind of just getting like, so for like this Restless Mummy, right? It's like, it dies, but it's like you kind of just get another 4-cost guy for free.
This card slapped, by the way, in like its era.
I
like,
believe it.
Very
I
good
believe
card.
it. I might give it to Reborn over Recruit, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
I mean, like, again, from the thing we may or may not have filmed,
it'll be
like it just seemed like it was so powerful.
The event will be announced tomorrow, so like people will know that you played into it, so you can.
We can talk about that. Yay! All right, cool. Do I give it to Reborn? I might give it to Reborn. I'll be honest with you. I think Reborn would have beat Twin Spell. I'll straight up say it. I think I would not have like retracted. I think Reborn might have beat Twin Spell.
Wow. Okay. Reborn's
I think I'm
really
gonna give it to
mechanic.
Reborn. I think I'm gonna give it to Reborn.
Okay. I personally think Recruit's still better because I'd rather manage the card. Reborn is one of these keywords that, again, this is like, it's not variance at all, but it really depends on like the minion that it's put on. Because if it's on a minion that's synergistic with Death Battle, it becomes infinitely better because you get 2 versions of it.
It just felt so egregious like when we played it because like everything just had Reborn. So like no matter like what you did, not you specifically, but like whoever we played against, it just seemed like everything they did didn't matter because our guys just came back and it was just like, all right, cool.
What deck was that? Which one were you playing? Were you playing Death Knight?
It was one of the Death Knight decks. Yeah. Yeah, like so, literally like half the deck had stuff that like that reborned itself. So like we just played a board, they played a board, tried to contest our board, and our board stayed, and then their stuff died, and so we just played more stuff. It just like it seems so oppressive.
I'm assuming it was probably because of this card.
It was that card. Yeah.
So This card's really unique because like I just said, it's we're talking about Brittlebone Buccaneer, which is like a really good 2-drop. This one's very synergistic with the Death Run and Reborn stuff, right? Because then it compounds both those keywords together and makes it really good.
Exactly.
I will say this card's like, it is backbreaking. Like if this card lives, it's
like literally like every time we played this, like if they did not answer it, like we won the game, just like straight up. This card was like insane.
This card in the draft format of Hearthstone is the exact same. If they play this on Toon, you
I bet it is.
Or
I bet it is.
Standard, like you need to answer this card. Very good card. So if I take away Brittlebone Buccaneer, because it's technically like not on the card itself, I think Recruit is objectively better. But if we're considering like cards like Brittlebone Buccaneer that give the a minion the mechanic or the keyword, I mean, there's a conversation to be had here. There's a conversation.
Sure. I guess I'm looking at it through that because again, I have very little experience like playing Hearthstone, right? So I'm looking at it through the lens of what I've experienced, and I've experienced that and not Recruit. So like in my mind, that felt like very Yu-Gi-Oh in a way that like everything was just dying and coming back. Like that Yu-Gi-Oh, that's like that all the time.
No, we'll continue with Reborn here. I'm sure the people following are like, holy fuck.
I think there's still an argument. Oh, they probably gave up halfway when I kept going with Ray of Frost 30 minutes through.
Okay, you're looking at,
what do we got? Lifesteal?
Quick draw. Quick draw.
What's quick draw?
When this enters your hand, you can do this effect. Sorry, let me rephrase that so it's more clear.
When it enters your hand.
This card only will have its quick draw if the turn you are playing it entered your hand. That's the way I should say it.
Like if it entered your hand, you play it, it does the thing. But if you do it the next turn, it doesn't.
It does not. Yeah.
Okay, Reborn, 100%.
All right, that's fair.
That's so bad.
Quick Draw was introduced in like a Western expansion, and it plays probably.
I mean, that makes sense. You know, like the draw with the guns.
Yeah, exactly. It plays exactly how you think it does, where it's like, God, if I drew that Quick Draw mechanic and I drew the turn I needed it, it's so fucking good. And then if it doesn't, it's like, ugh. So
I think it's thematic for the set, if anything.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I think it's.
I'm sure some of the cards are fine. Like if you're playing like like cheap stuff too, like maybe that's pretty decent. But yeah, I don't know. No.
There's a legendary called I forget his last name. Flint Quick Draw maybe is his name. When you play it, you get a random quick draw card, and if you play it, you get another one for the turn. So
that's cool.
Like you
keep like firing. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I showed you Sunspot because I feel like I want to show you Flint because I'd have to show you like literally every fucking card.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
But Sunspot's I think it's like a good representation of the mechanic. I felt like you would not pick quick draw regardless because I feel like in Yu-Gi-Oh as well it'd be fucking atrocious. So.
Well, it's interesting in Yu-Gi-Oh because Yu-Gi-Oh has so many tutoring effects that and like everything's free. Right, so quick draw in Yu-Gi-Oh is this might actually surprise you. No, so this is interesting. We have cards that say when this card is added to your hand, like do X. So it's like if you search it and then it's like when this card's added to your hand, you can like special summon it for free or do another thing. So we actually have like a quick draw mechanic in our game. Like we don't have keywords obviously, and those cards are very good as a matter of fact. So like quick draw in our game is actually good. I think in your game it's a lot worse because you have like costs and stuff.
Yeah, we have mana. Oh, that's fair. Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right, next one you're doing poisonous, which is if this.
It's just like if it does damage, it kills something, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Removal's fine. I mean, it's like annoying. Sure. I still think Reborn's better because it's like, oh, my Reborn hits your poison. It's good. My guy comes back. Yours doesn't. Great.
All right, that's fair. That is fair. Okay. Here's your next one. This is Overload. I'm gonna say it like this.
I know Overload. I know Overload.
I'm just gonna say it so you could kind of like compare it better to Reborn. Overload is that you're getting a better card at the cost of paying a mana later. Like that's
of course. It's like you're getting like the power now and you're paying for it later essentially. Yes. You're putting it on like layaway, right? Or I guess it's not like that. It's like you're putting it on like a credit card, right? And you pay your credit card off later. I remember playing because I remember playing like with some of these cards because like they were in Classic.
That's such an interesting mechanic, though. If they did like, you don't have to pay all the mana for the Overload now. You could do it over the course of multiple turns rather than.
Oh, it's like interest. It's the Klarna of Hearthstone. Great.
That would be so interesting if they did it like that. Because like if a card has Overload 3, it would ask at the start of your turn, how much mana do you want to lose this turn? Like that would be extremely interesting if they designed it.
That would be interesting. I also feel like that'd be like kind of complicated, but.
Oh yeah, they would never do it, but it is a thought.
Yeah. Like Yu-Gi-Oh has some stuff like it's not like cost based, but it's like, oh, you get this big effect if you like take a ton of damage or you like discard a bunch of cards or like whatever. So it's like we have some cards that are like kind of equivalent to this. I'm trying like there's not really like a downside on the next turn. I want.
Yeah, well, you guys don't have mana, right? So it's like
no, like I'm trying to think like what would be like a downside. It would be like
You can't attack for the rest of the turn.
You can't attack the next turn or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like we have downsides like that on some things, and it's like those cards are fine. It's fine. I think I think Reborn's still better, but
okay,
it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it's weird because it's like sort of mana cheating, but like not really. You know?
Yeah. It's like reverse mana. I don't know how to describe it.
It's like reverse. I know what you mean. Yeah. Like the credit card example is the best one.
Yeah.
You know?
This one's tough as well because sometimes
it's hard.
overload
It's hard
cards
to evaluate
are really
them.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll keep Reborn for now, though. All right. This is Overheal. Overheal is when you heal the minion over its maximum health.
Reborn. Next. That's so specific. You have to overheal it.
It's like, a priest though. Priest does so much healing.
Yeah, but you need to have also things that like make sure your guys can have extra life that's over their. So you have like 2 steps. You have to not only make sure it can go above its maximum life, and then you have to heal it on top of it.
All right, that's fair. I will say that Overheal has been a pretty lackluster mechanic for the most part. There's like very few cards that have actually made like a huge impact on the game. But
anything with over before it is not good, from what I've learned from this video.
Those cards do well.
Actually, no, Overload has been good. Sorry, I was gonna say Overkill and Overheal have not been impressive.
All right, this one is miniaturize, which means when I play the card,
you get like a 1/1 of it, right?
1 mana 1/1. That's the more important thing.
This is like the twin spell for minions, basically.
You know what? 100%. That's exactly what it is. That's actually crazy. Good comparison.
Yeah. This was also very good. We got to play with this when we played as well. Cause like this, like there's so many cool things you can do with this. And like Yu-Gi-Oh! Miniaturize would be very interesting on a bunch of cards. Like we don't have a mechanic like this, obviously. I'm thinking like my brain is spinning of like all the cool stuff you could do with it, but that's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not Hearthstone. So I have to think about it in that context. Because the thing is with Miniaturize, like it does make like it's a 1 mana 1/1, right? Yeah. So it's like
it's the effect.
I don't want to say it's free, but it's like kind of free.
It's free. You can put it like that.
Basically, it's free. Yeah. So it's like sort of mana cheating. It is. I don't know. This one's tough. Because it's like you have more agency with this versus like Reborn. Because like Reborn, your stuff needs to die. Where like this, it's like you get a lot more control over it, and it is still free. But it is a one. I mean, the stats on the Reborn is like relevant because like you Reborn stuff that has like 4, 5, 6, 7 attack. Like that's like crazy. Even if it has 1 health, it doesn't matter. It's like still like a threat that you have to deal with. This was actually tough. Like these are both very similar, but like different at the same time.
Miniature's really new. It's a cool mechanic.
I was gonna say, how do you like, not that I'm like asking you to sway my opinion, but I'm just curious like your thoughts on Miniaturize.
Miniaturize is like, I think it's one of the most balanced mechanics that they've ever done. I like it because I think it's cool to think about you want to spend the more expensive thing now to get something that you can use later. So Shutterblock's a great example of that. I love banking, I like spending the 6 mana and knowing I have the 1 mana one. There's one for Rogue that you might have seen when we played, which was 5 mana, 4/3 battlecry. Your next card costs 3 less, and then the miniature version's a 1 mana 1/1 with the same battlecry. So it's like really good.
We played with like some ice guy that would like free stuff, and that was like that card was crazy.
You know what? I take it back. Fuck Miniaturize. I actually hate that card so much. Sleet Skater, such a stupid ass card.
In that case, I should pick Miniaturize.
Sleet Skater is a really good card.
Freeze
is a good mechanic. Freeze is a really
Freeze
good
is just a good mechanic. We haven't even gotten to that yet. I'm gonna stick with Reborn.
Okay. That's Reborn. That's fair.
I think it's really close though. I could have gone either way on this one. This one's really hard.
Okay.
I think if it was Yu-Gi-Oh, I'd pick Miniaturize. I'll be honest with you.
Let's get the more or the least impressive ones out of the way so we can go to the big boys first. All right. Honorable kill means you kill the minion with its exact life going to 0.
Reborn. Next. That's so specific. That's crazy.
It is. I was gonna show you. There's a card called Korak, who is that his name? Korak sounds right. 4 mana 3/5 with it says death rattle has to be honorably killed. So you have to actually kill it to 0 rather than doing more. And that card
that's kind of a cool card. That's kind of a cool card.
Unfortunately for him, the rest of the keywords are the rest of honorable kill is just absolutely atrocious because it's so fucking hard to make it work.
I will say that's an interesting card though. Yeah. I'll give it
okay. There's this one. Inspire is when you use your hero power proxy effect.
That's pretty good. Like, I mean, that's like, I wouldn't say it's like, you know, crazy or anything, but like, I think that's fine. I'm still on Reborn, but
do you
Inspire
think
seems pretty good.
Here's a better question. Do you think honorable kill is better than Inspire?
No way. No shot. Inspire seems way better.
See, Inspire is so weird because most people like
This card got buffed. It's not the actual version that it was released at the Grand Tournament, but Inspire, you have to look at it as you have a 2-mana tax on every card that has it. If you're not spending 2 mana, your card does literally fucking nothing. So this card used to read 7 mana Inspire, summon a random legendary, but that means that it's actually a 9 mana 5/4 hero power and summon a random legendary. So
yeah, but like the trade-off is but the trade-off is like if it sticks around, then you get to do it again, right?
Oh,
and like
absolutely. Yeah.
Like so like the snowballing potential is crazy. Like so in the Edison format for Yu-Gi-Oh, there's one card in particular that like you hate when it hits the field because like the first time it does its effect, you basically like can't stop it. But if that card sticks, like you just lose the game straight up. And so it's like I'm looking at it that way where it's like yeah, like sure, because like that card you also have to like discard cards too to like use the effect. So it's kind of similar. It's like that's our tax, right? Where you have to pay 2. I'm talking about Dark Grepher for anyone wondering. So like that card, literally, if that card sticks for a turn, you just like straight up lose the game. And so that to me is like the equivalent of that. And I think that gives like a lot of credibility to Inspire be better than Honorable Kill, just straight up.
Interesting. Okay, I would say that Honorable Kill. God, Honorable Kill just had such a weird requirement. Inspire sucked, for the record.
Like I can't imagine in Yu-Gi-Oh there's a card that's like this card can like you have to kill this with the like you have to trade with your minions and that triggers the effect. Like that would be so bad. Like I can't.
All right, we'll go to the next one. Infuse means while this is in your hand and minions die, you proc 1 infuse. So you need 7 minions for Sylvanas to become infused.
Okay, wait. So if you have 7 minions die, the infuse effect works.
Yes. Well, this is in your hand. It has to be. It has to be in your hand.
So you can't do it. So if you kill 7 things and then draw her, she's at 0.
She's at 0. She's at 0.
Oh, that's Reborn. That's no, no shot. I mean, like in Hearthstone, it's different because like you guys have like longer games, kind of. So like maybe you can get away with it, but like that's no.
Sylvanas was most of the infused cards felt pretty slow, but when you actually got Sylvanas infused, she was disgusting.
Didn't Sylvanas like just do that? Like, didn't Sylvanas just take something in old Hearthstone? Like, there was no infused. She
used to be her death rattle, but death rattle is a weird keyword, and we're gonna talk to it like relatively soon. But death rattle is a weird keyword because you can make the case in early Hearthstone it was very good, but as the game has gotten faster and faster, death rattle's only gotten worse and worse, right? Like
it's so interesting because like in Yu-Gi-Oh, so much stuff triggers in the graveyard that it's like it's common and it's good. So it's weird that like your game got worse and our game got better.
Okay, we're gonna talk about immune. Immune means that you cannot deal damage to it, you cannot target it with a spell or hero power. You can or minion if it's immune.
Immune in your game just seems like so crazy because like in our game it's like it's annoying, but it's like kind of whatever. Because like I know like Ice Block exists. There was like wasn't there a guy that made you immune too from back in the day?
Yes, but the monster itself wasn't immune. So
no, he wasn't, but it made you immune.
Yes,
so like you couldn't die as long as he was out. Yeah.
Yes. Melganis. Yeah. One card.
I don't know if he was any good, but like, I remember that guy. Okay.
He was good because you can mana cheat him. That was
there you go. That's all it takes. I feel like you guys don't use this word very often, though.
It's
do
like
not. Because it's very good. That's why.
It's a very scary mechanic.
It's weird, though, because it's like it doesn't win you the game necessarily. It doesn't lose you the game, but it doesn't win you the game. But it is very good from what I remember. And it just seems very annoying in your game as well. Because it's like there's like 0 way to interact with immune, right? It's just like straight up.
There's no way. So in
the case of like what you showed me, like you can kill the whelp and then it's not immune anymore.
Yeah,
but like,
I'll show you this card. This is like probably maybe the better card I should have picked.
Oh, timeout. Okay, so this is like Ice Block, but you can like use it proactively.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's interesting. God, that seems really good actually.
It was that's a card for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, I might have to get to immune. I feel like immune in your game is just so. I feel like immune is so good in your game.
So immune, I think I would agree with you. It is objectively probably the more powerful keyword because again, like you said, it's so hard to deal with in Hearthstone.
Yeah,
they use this mechanic so sparingly. Like it is.
I was gonna say because it seems so good with like you can't just give immune to like a bunch of stuff. Like it's like you just can't.
They have to be very careful on what they print it on. But
yeah,
if an immune card is playable, it like almost guaranteed we'll see play.
Yeah,
which is not playable as in it's in the game. Like it's balanced like in a according way, like with the rest of the field. Like people will find it.
Timeout would be very interesting from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective because it's not a secret. Like you'd have to act. It'd be just like a spell that you'd have to like say like, okay, I'm not dying this turn, but you'd have to like play that, and it's a card that technically does nothing. And if your opponent can kill you, then it like technically didn't do anything anyway.
So we're gonna go to what I consider the big boys now. Again, for people who are wondering, I'm omitting like a lot of like the package stuff. So like Adapt is not going to be here, Imbue is not here, Dark Gifts aren't here. There's just too much information for that right now. So these are the cards that you will see. These are the keywords that don't have a package. Okay.
Sure.
This is not for you specifically. This is for people wondering, because I know people are going to be like, why didn't you show them?
What do you
like
mean? I'm a Hearthstone expert. What are you talking?
You're actually. I mean, that's actually true.
Freeze is so good. Oh my god, Freeze is nuts. I mean, like, I played Freeze Mage and stuff, like, back in the day, and, like, even then it was good, but, like, even, like, recently when we were, like, doing stuff, like, Freeze still seems like such a crazy mechanic.
Yes.
God.
Very good mechanic. Very good mechanic.
I think I give it to Freeze, to be honest. Freeze is so crazy. Freeze is nuts.
I legitimately think Frost Nova is, like, top 5 cards they printed. Like,
really?
Every time I see it, I have PTSD for how good that It's 3 mana for basically to tell your opponent, like, every monster they have is unusable for the next turn. Like it is.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, and like we're not gonna get into it. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say. I think Freeze gets it. Yeah.
Divine Shield, which is the
first
it's
like
time
they don't take damage the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yu-Gi-Oh kind of has this. There's some things like the first time this would be destroyed by battle, it's not destroyed, or like the first time it would be destroyed, like period, it's not destroyed. It's not very common, but there are some cards that have that text, and like they're fine. Like they're not like anything like. It all depends. If you're playing like limited or like draft or something, they're like broken because they're like so hard to deal with. I still think I give it to Freeze, man. Freeze is crazy.
Divine Shield's
so good. Divine Shield's good, like really good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but God, Freeze though, man.
Freeze is good.
It's so
Freeze
good.
Is good.
I gotta give it to Freeze. I gotta give it to Freeze.
Here's another big boy.
Oh, Discover's crazy. Oh my, you did save the best for last. Oh my God. If Discover was like we have basically Discover equivalent cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're not like 1-to-1. I'll just show you this really quick. Okay. We've committed to this video being 5 hours, so we may as well just like roll with it. Okay, we have this card. This is like the closest we have to discovering. I'll show you this. I don't know if you've seen this before.
Auto duality, execute the top. Yeah, you showed me this card. Yeah.
So you look at the top 3, you pick one, and the other 2 go shuffled back, and then you can't special summon the turn you use it. So it does actually have a pretty strict requirement on it. But like this, I'm not joking, was like a $150 card, like when it was first printed.
Jesus.
Because like Pot of Greed was banned, like all the good card draw was gone, and this was like it has like Pot of Greed on the back, right? You see in the artwork, so it's like it's paying homage to it. Duality was just like unbelievably good. It was just like every deck, like even fast decks would still play it just because you had the ability to like just get whatever one of the top 3. God, in your game, it's like Discover just gives you like more cards, and like more cards means you can do more stuff, but you're limited by mana, which is like the hard thing. I still think I give it to Discover though. Discover is just like it just keeps so going. You just get cards into cards. It's your equivalent of tutoring, to be honest. Like
depending on how they Discover is just people like may hate the keyword because it's just random generation stuff, but it solved one of the biggest problem card games have, which is like variability in each one of your games, because Discover can make the difference of like a game being fun or not, depending on what you discover and etc. It also has so many mechanics. Like you just said, there's a card called Shadow Visions, which is discover a copy of a spell in your deck.
Oh, that's cool.
They did a card, I think it's called, I don't know what it's actually called. They did the same version of it, but instead of a copy, you draw the actual spell, which is really cool. Or there's one that's like, discover like a specific type of card in your deck and draw it. Like
that's cool.
They've done so many unique ways of Discover that they keep building upon, which is really unique. I showed you Dark Gifts a while ago, which was like, you discover a minion from your deck and it adds an additional keyword on top of it that would normally have. Like they keep building on top of it, which is cool.
It's just like, it also is like the thing is with card games, people like playing cards, right? So it gives you more cards to play with at the end of the day.
Hearthstone's design philosophy is literally that last sentence. Like, we want you to play cards. Like that's what it is.
No, exactly. Like that's why we play card games. Cause like, and that's to be fair, that's why a lot of people like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that like, it's the card game that lets you play the most cards like at once compared to everything else.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's why people like it. Yeah. All right. I don't know how we're beating Discover. Death Rattle. Oh, that's a good way to try to beat it. Yeah. Okay.
Well, wait. There's one mechanic I think is objectively the best one. I'm gonna be curious to see if you pick it, but we'll get there.
It's Twin Spell, right? As good as Death Rattle is, I still think Discover wins.
No, I agree.
I'll be honest. I agree. Yeah, Death Rattle's like, it's really good, but it's not Discover.
Discover, like you said, Discover is really going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat. Yeah.
This is Corrupt. This is if you play a card with a higher mana cost than this, it becomes corrupted.
So like in this instance with Carnival Clown, you have to pay a 10 cost before you play it.
You could play Carnival Clown for its original effect, but if you want to corrupt it, you have to spend a 10 mana card. Or if you reduce it to like 6 mana, you can play a 7 card. But
all right, Discover.
Discover? Fair. Okay. No, I respect it.
I think like obviously like I could see why it would be good, but again, conditional stuff. It's I went on the rant before. It's like it's conditional.
You should be familiar with this one now. This is Corpses for Demon Hunter.
I am familiar with Corpses. I am familiar with Corpses. Cool mechanic. It was a cool mechanic. I still think Discover wins, but it's a cool mechanic. Yeah,
okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's just conditional. Like it's not too hard to meet the condition because it's like you kind of just like play the natural progression of the game, and like the Death Knight stuff like makes it pretty easy to get there. But it is still like a conditional thing, and it's like Discover's just Discover. Like it's gonna be hard to beat straight up.
Okay. This is Combo for Rogue.
That's where it's like you play a card before and it does the thing. It's conditional. Discover still wins. Yep. I'm not saying combo's bad. Combo's really good, but it's like if you don't have a card to combo with it, like it's kind of like whatever. So Discover is Discover.
It definitely depends on the circumstances. I 100% agree with you. Edwin Van Cleef like could probably rival like any Discover card on its own, but you're right. You do need like a hand for it to make it work.
Exactly. And like again, Yu-Gi-Oh brain, it's like we want like as like easy and like free as possible. Yep. Exactly.
All right. We have 2 more that I'm going to show you.
We're almost at the end of this 5-hour excursion we've been on.
This is Charge.
Oh God. Charge is nuts. Charge is really good. I know Leroy. I remember from Classic.
Yes, Leroy is the GOAT. Very good card.
See, this is so loaded because like our game has Charge basically. It's more like Rush, but so it's like our game we just deal with this all the time and it's fine. We're like your game, like oh you get to attack the turn you play it, crazy.
Hey, yo, it's so good. I mean, Leroy is just
he's your finisher.
Yeah, Charge the game though, especially in a game like Hearthstone, where I was talking about earlier how you can like with Windfury you can preemptively make like an OTK, right?
Yep.
Charge is like the pinnacle of that, where it's like you need that combination of Charge, potentially Windfury to like really seal the deal from hand.
Sure.
And just like Immune, they don't print Charge minions very frequently. Like they were trying to introduce it last year and they realized their mistake of like why they stopped printing these cards. So they took a lot of them out. I actually don't even know if there's a single Charge minion stand right now. Hold on.
I mean, like I could see why, because like I mean, like Rush basically is the same thing. You know, it's not exactly, but it's like it accomplishes a lot of the goals without it being like as degenerate. I still think I give it to Discover, to be honest.
Okay, that one I'm very curious to see what people have to say in the comments, because that one's like
that's tough. It's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Okay, no, it's fine. You know what? I think it's tough regardless, because I think Discover's like objectively in a vacuum probably better. Like Charge is just
what I mean. Like Charge is really, really good, but at the same time, it's like Discover is just Discover. Like you get more cards, and you can Discover into Discover, right? If you hit the lottery, like
yes, yeah. You actually there is a time when Renew could discover a Renew, and that used to be hilarious. It was not fun because you would be like, oh, the priest is almost dead, and they'd be like, oh, Renew into Renew into Renew.
That's fucking horrible. So gross. It's only one cost too. That's so dumb.
This is the final battle. And I'm very curious to see what you end up picking here. For the record, I did not show you Titans. I didn't show you Colossals. I didn't show you Adapt.
Well, you showed me them in other videos. I showed you them previously. Which you should go watch.
David linked that shit. Okay. Here is the final battle. This is Discover versus Battlecry.
Oh my God, Battlecry is the final battle. Oh my God. Like Battlecry is on like everything.
Battlecry probably is the inverse of Death Rattle. Battlecry has only gotten better as the years of Hearthstone have gone on.
Sure, which makes sense. God, this is a final battle for sure. I don't know if you expected this was gonna be the final battle, but
I was putting Battlecry at the last one because in my opinion, Battlecry is the strongest keyword in the game. It's not even close. Like if you have to,
I think I have to agree with you, to be honest. It's like Battlecry just does so much, and it's like yeah, Discover gets you cards, but Battlecry can also get you cards and do other stuff on top of it, right?
It is probably the most used keyword in the game. It's so synergistic with everything too, right?
Well, like even in Yu-Gi-Oh, like stuff like our equivalent of battlecry, it says like when you normal summon or when you special summon. We call them on summon effects. All on summon effects, like on so many cards, are just like insane. They're just like nuts. Like we have our one, like I know Yu-Gi-Oh has the reputation of playing a million cards, but like we only get one normal summon, and there are some cards that say like if this card is normal summoned exactly, but it does something that basically like wins you the game if it resolves. And so it's like, I think I have to agree with you. I think Battlecry takes it. I love Discover, but like even in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think like this, like those types of effects are just like, they just keep the game going, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
simple.
it's also like active too. Cause like discovering, it depends on the card, but like, cause you're showing me a spell specifically. It's like discovering, but you immediately are getting the effect of like whatever you're discovering, right? In like a sense. You know?
Okay.
And so it's like, from like a gameplay perspective, that's like fun because there's not this like delay where it's like, if you might discover something, you might not get to play it for like a couple turns. But like Battlecry, like it happens immediately. Like it immediately impacts the board in most instances.
That's
true.
I
think I agree with you. I think Battlecry has to take it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't want to go for too much longer. So congratulations to Battlecry for being Yu-Gi-Oh's best keyword in Hearthstone.
Honestly, like I think it is probably Yu-Gi-Oh's best keyword, straight up.
Fair enough. I can't wait to see. Like, with CGB, it's going to be interesting because his mechanics kind of like translate 1-to-1 with his game. So
it's a lot easier. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see like what he ends up with. Yeah.